Item 8, preliminary discussion with Old Post Realty on potential regulations for I-2 zoning district. We have an agent or applicant here to discuss this.
Yes.
You could identify yourself for the record and let us know what's going on.
Yes, I'm Joanne Wiley, W-I-L-E-Y. I'm here with the owners of Old Post Road Realty and 30 Old Post Road. And they'd like to introduce themselves. We'd like to give you a vision of what we see and what we would like to see happen. We're in an I-2 zone. They would be most interested in being able to move forward in the appropriate time for sports-related use, whether it's recreational, something of that nature. They're very much interested in staying active in community. They've been taxpayers for several years. They own the ground and feel that looking at your own planning documents, we reviewed them from 2015 and saw that there was reference to a very positive interest in a recreational use. What type of sports or recreational, it would be inappropriate to comment at this point, because we would be hoping, and I speak informally because that's all that we can do at this point, we would like to bring forward an idea that we could ask you to consider including a recreational use in the zoning. The zoning right now precludes that, and so they cannot go forward with any plans or exploration of that without the idea that they could develop a use there related to recreation. So.
Well, just as a general idea, one of the options that you would obviously have is to bring forward a proposal to amend the regulations and have a formal proposal to do that. I don't know how the commission would feel about it, but I mean, that would be the most direct approach to take on something like that.
We were going to anticipate bringing that forward in January and sharing that with you at the appropriate form, the appropriate process, and then going through that process into February perhaps as your direction or your scheduling recommends. But at this point, and I don't know if you want to introduce yourselves.
Kenneth Dobriner.
Can you spell that, please?
D-O-B-R-I-N-E-R. Douglas Dobriner. Same last name.
Mr. Chairman, just to set up, they appeared from the EDC a couple times now, these people have.
Can you identify yourself?
I'm John Allen, 15 Hooper's Way. And they were here last week. It's the second time they came up from New Jersey. And I think you've got some wind of it. They really wanted kind of a reset. They discussed some wonderful ideas for that property down there. They're surprisingly eager to get started as quickly as they possibly can to get something built there. So maybe to make this a more positive experience for everybody, just introduce themselves, even if you wanted to ask questions about the kind of ideas they've got. These are all TBD things, but they're all in the areas that I think the town would love, be very important for the town, the things we've been talking about for a long time. And I think we finally got a couple taxpayer people that really would like to come up here and make some changes in the town. So that's why they drove all the way up from New Jersey today, and to get started. I mean, it's almost like also feeling, I can say anything about, oh, they love this idea, but you are the people that really have to make this happen. And I think having a feeling of, geez, ice skating rink, I call like that, and how quickly we can move. It's trying to get a little some wind in the sails here for them, so that when they still feel this way, this positive way, they can maybe start actually working on doing something. So that's what it's all about. Nothing more than that. These guys are great to talk to. They have a lot of ideas, so it's all right.
Go back to the applicant, or the John, you had a comment?
If I might, I also attended a meeting with the property owners of Old Post Road. Part of the reason that they're here, we recommended that they get on the agenda to address the commission. we identified in talking about some of their concepts for potential recreation uses at 30 Old Post Road, which, as you'll remember, is the former Unilever facility that collapsed several years back in the snow. It's still a large open pad of several acres. Currently, I'll reference for those of you who go back and check, it's section 27.2.39, 27.239, which is commercial recreation facilities. About 3 years ago, we had expanded the definition slightly in order to accommodate the other Unilever, the larger Unilever facility, to place some commercial recreation indoors of an existing facility and created some nuance there. We created actually 4 categories of commercial recreation, and none of them are allowed in I-2. They're allowed in I-1, where Unilever is, by special exception. And the largest of the uses would be, without limit on size, would be indoor type A, which is a change of use for uses proposed for an existing structure of any size. So if this were to go forward, if the commission were to sort of look favorably on at least considering this, which I think is the goal of the applicants, or the property owners at this time, to get a sense that the commission is open to the idea, it would take the form of sort of 2 tweaks. One would be to tweak the existing structure of any size to sort of include existing industrial or commercial facilities that may be subject to redevelopment, as opposed to a standing building. And the second, obviously, would be to change the X in the column for I-2 to an SE for special exception. So it would probably be 2 slight tweaks. And I don't mean to go too far in speaking for the property owners, but at least for my comfort in kind of thinking about this going forward, would like to get a sense of, given that scope, sort of to tweak the commercial recreation facilities as an indoor thing, and also possibly as an outdoor use, which is the 4th type of outdoor recreation or commercial recreation, which is also currently not allowed in the I-2. So that might go to special exception also. So given the scope of that proposed change, I think we'd all very much welcome sort of the general thoughts, of course, in a non-binding way from the commission.
I will say, the one question I had, and I guess John's answered it for me, is your primary idea would be to have it be indoor recreation.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I for one would like to hear some of the ideas. I mean, if we're at that level and we're going to address it, if we're thinking about the regulations, I'd like to hear what the ideas are.
Well, yeah, I'll talk. I mean, from what I understand, that you're state champions in soccer, girls and boys soccer. There's no soccer facility here in Clinton. I know this I-95 corridor is a hotbed for hockey. There's not too many hockey facilities around here. I just see the need. I went to Quinnipiac. When I went to school there, hockey was this big. 5 years ago, they went to the national championship. This is 15 miles from here. Hockey's big. Soccer's big. And there's nothing here, so I think it'd be a good need.
Well, I'd like to welcome you. I'm speaking just for myself, but anything that can get kids off their electronic stuff and out being physically active and family activity. We really don't have anything like that at all. There was a bouncy house that closed here. We don't have indoor facilities for people. And I think it's a wonderful, whatever we can do. I'm thanking you for not giving up on Clinton.
And I think that the size of the property, the location of the property is ideal. You could put a soccer field, hockey, restaurant, recreation, anything there. It's right off the highway. It's a few minutes from town. I think it would fit it.
I think one of the things that we tossed around very informally, as I said, we can't go past that, but when you think of the folks coming in, mostly families, maybe some teams coming in, those folks also, those people I guess I should say, are going to go into town. Maybe they're going to have a sandwich. Maybe they're going to buy sports items. Maybe they're going to do other things which are a benefit that it's like a ripple out benefit from this activity, and we think that's very important. In a facility of this sense, you could have part of it for example, batting cages. You could have a variety of indoor things, which are year-round also. So if it's skating, you know, you're not skating on a pond that's going to melt in the summer and not be for swimming. This is year-round. There's a shortage of sheet time. There's a wide variety of things that could happen here. And we would be hoping that in your thought about this, we might be able to explore this in a little more specific way.
I mean, two needs. I mean, you could give either a hockey and soccer need, they can bring some economy to the town. That's how I look at it.
And it's walking distance from town. I thought that was a good point, that people can walk into town from there.
Christine?
So I'd just like to add to it, anything that we can do to make this a property that is beneficial to the town, that helps the property owners, make it a lucrative property to them, but also brings it more onto the tax roll. As they indicated, it is in an area that is walkable. It's walkable to neighborhoods. It's walkable to the downtown. It is in the concept of the complete streets and creating networks within our community. And as Evan and I indicated, it would also help getting kids more engaged and active in the community, and that's important. So we had met and we had discussed with John Viskowski the options for changing the regulations that would allow for this type of use. And if you're to move forward with it, most of you were around when the last sports facility was proposed for Unilever, and the town was very much in favor of that. So I think it's a fairly good indication that the community would be interested in something like this. But I leave it up to your discretion as to how you'd like to move forward.
Okay, now, I'd like to add more comments from the commission for the owners. Anybody else have anything to
I
add?
think we react very positively.
Okay.
I think it would be positive. We do travel soccer. Almost all the indoor facilities are in industrial zones because they're old warehouses or old gravel pits that need a use. You do want walkability. You may want to put some kind of sidewalk in your plan.
Yeah.
We would have
Well, we
bike
didn't have
paths
that on
and-
one of our projects, so we'd like to maybe see that on this one.
So it's nice, it'll be brand new. It won't be an old warehouse, it'll be new. It'll be new.
I think we've learned from the other ones that we've seen, that the economics of making that kind of facility work need to be balanced by supportive facilities. The ones that, a lot of the larger ones that were created in the last decade have substantially added supportive services to generate more income than it was particularly an issue with hockey because of the cost of developing and maintaining a hockey rink. It would be less severe with, with soccer, an indoor soccer facility. But I think the principle of mixing the uses on the site, bringing in supportive uses, whether they're a gym-type facility or
Physical therapy.
yeah,
Yes,
or
a
physical
health
therapy
food type
or
of thing.
something along
Yeah.
those lines.
Maybe an outlet store for hockey sticks.
Well, somewhere where,
A pro shop.
no, where, if the traveling team came in, it'd be comfortable for them to be there.
I would like to see John's suggestions in writing. If you-
I haven't drafted anything.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah, of course.
that will give us a starting point to deliberate, maybe have something structure set up to work on this.
Well, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention one other thing. They are, I'm here for them, obviously, to express it, but they're taxpayers. They want to bring their face forward to communities, so they're not strangers in town. And I think the difference in their outlook, and they're business operators, they have their own businesses that are not in this, but they are businessmen. I think when you think about it, this is a focused opportunity. It's not something that's got dreams of grandeur that aren't deliverable. If they were to have the zoning in place that they could work on, it's a very focused thing. It's sports and ancillary uses. that would work with it, whether it's the health bar, the rental of skates, the training session, senior sessions, skating dance, fencing, whatever those things are, which are not delineated yet, because it would be inappropriate at this point. But they're here, and they're happy to get to know everybody here now.
So we're excited to move forward.
So I think I would add one more thing, that it's a very positive move that you started this process early on, introduced yourself, because that's very important, especially given the history a little bit. Because if the applicant is here and takes the baton themselves and moves forward, people can see that there's some skin in the game rather than somebody operating from remote.
I should have been here 3 years ago.
He had a few other things to do.
I should have been here 3 years ago.
I will tell you my one concern, because you are, clearly chomping at the bit to get started, and that is just all of the regulatory time sucks that we don't have the ability to accelerate for you. We have the ability to drag it out, but even, don't get me wrong, we can drag it out, but even, if everything is positive, you've got to change the regs first, and there's going to be because it's a change in the regulations, that's 2 months minimum. Then you would have to come in with your proposal after those regs go into effect. So that's, you do have some things that we can't control that are going to slow you down, even if everything goes the way you want it. And I caution you about that, because I hate to have somebody who sounds like they're really interested in doing something good for the town get discouraged because of that. So of course I'm going to discourage you right off the bat.
You see, there's someone else who says the same words. Because they're so focused on this, like, let's get it going, we've got our business, let's put it into the pathway, and we were even kidding around coming up. I said, the best process, and compliance is my specialty, right? The best process is carefully delineated, and it gives all parties the opportunity to come to consensus or discussion. So I'm totally admiring your position, because that is the process here. So
I just don't want you losing faith
We want it
in
to
yourself.
happen. We would like to have it as fast as possible.
I understand that.
Legally.
Well, which is understandable, but you have to remember, this is a process, and it's not only here, it's every single town.
Well, it's the
And
state's
we
requirement.
represent the community, and you are part of the community.
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, is John, you're working with them?
I was advising them as to the regulatory procedure and the plan of conservation and development. I haven't been retained by them.
No, in the past, you
Yeah, no,
worked with...
I'll work at your direction. If you'd like me to
Direction.
coordinate with them, I'm more than happy to do so. But at this point, I was just advising them as to.
Well, I would not I wouldn't object to you working with them.
In the past, John has worked with some of the bigger developments and
Right.
regulation change that has happened. I'm just speaking for myself, not for the whole commission.
Which is beneficial, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, happy to do so.
It's a path of least resistance for us as well. John's representing us, he's doing it to them, at least we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
We know what John's talking about. I mean, in light of what they're doing and what we don't have here, which is a lack of a gym space and a lot of indoor recreational facilities. Very difficult in this town. This town, we lost one of the gyms at our
We're
high school.
losing one right now.
Yeah. It's very difficult.
Good for you.
How do you like the location?
I have young children, and I take them 45 minutes to an hour away to play either indoor basketball or lacrosse inside. So I know how difficult it is to find that space.
It's been very difficult with park and rec basketball because we lost the gym. Kids don't have the ability in the space now to play, the indoor sports in some of the high schools. The high school has a lot of indoor sports when they practice that they have to maintain in the winter, and it's very difficult. They've lost a lot of that.
So I think that the general consensus is that, yes, we consider this pretty positively from, you've got everything I've heard is positive from the commission.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item then.
This video provided as a public service by Kirk Carr, the Kirkster. Thank you for watching.